No one expected what was about to happen that night. Before a single note was sung, before the judges even looked up properly, something in the air already felt different. If you've ever judged someone in a split second by their accent, their clothes, or the way they nervously hold a microphone, this story will challenge you. And before you reach the end, you might find your eyes wet and your heart full. So if you believe in hidden talent, second chances, and impossible dreams, stay with this story till the very last moment, and if it moves you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this deserve to be shared. Backstage, under the harsh white lights of the audition hall, stood a young Filipino man named Miguel Santos. He was in his early 20s, slim, slightly hunched from years of physical labor, wearing a simple button-down shirt that had been ironed too many times. His shoes were clean but old. His hands trembled as he held the audition number against his chest. Around him were singers warming up, some confident, some loud, some already acting like stars. Miguel stayed quiet. He always had. Life had taught him that silence was safer than hope. Miguel grew up in a small coastal town in the Philippines where the sea was both a blessing and a curse. His father was a fisherman who left before sunrise and returned after dark, often empty-handed. His mother cleaned houses, sang softly while working, and believed music could heal tired souls. When Miguel was a child, the only music they owned came from an old radio with a broken dial. One evening, while twisting the antenna, Miguel heard a voice that stopped him cold. Deep, warm, aching. Elvis Presley. He didn't understand the words fully, but he understood the feeling. From that day on, whenever the radio caught Elvis by chance, Miguel listened like it was a message meant only for him. As years passed, reality grew heavier. Miguel had to drop out of school to help support his family. He worked at construction sites, carried sacks at the market, did anything that paid. Singing became something he only did late at night, alone, when the house was quiet and the world couldn't laugh at him. Neighbors sometimes heard him and teased him gently, saying, "Why are you singing American songs? That's not for people like us." Miguel would smile, nod, and sing anyway when no one was listening. When a friend showed him a clip of Simon Cowell judging singers on a talent show, Miguel laughed it off. "That stage is for stars," he said. But the friend insisted. "Sometimes stars are hidden," he replied. It took months, and the quiet encouragement of his mother, before Miguel finally auditioned. The day she hugged him goodbye, she whispered, "Sing like you're singing for me." Now, standing on that massive stage, Miguel felt smaller than ever. The lights blinded him. The audience murmured. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, expression unreadable. The other judges smiled politely, the way you smile when you expect disappointment. When Miguel introduced himself, his accent was thick, his voice shaky. Simon raised an eyebrow, not cruelly, but with clear doubt. "What will you be singing today?" Simon asked. Miguel swallowed hard. "An Elvis Presley song," he said. There it was. The moment. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Some people chuckled. Elvis was iconic, untouchable. Many had tried and failed. Simon's face said what everyone was thinking, "This is risky. Very risky." The music began softly. Miguel closed his eyes. And then he sang. The first note wasn't perfect, but it was real. Rich. Warm. By the second line, the room grew quiet. By the chorus, jaws dropped. Miguel wasn't copying Elvis, he was channeling the soul behind the song. His voice carried years of struggle, love, loss, and quiet endurance. Every lyric felt lived in. The nervous young man disappeared, replaced by a storyteller pouring his heart out. Simon leaned forward. As the song went on, something remarkable happened. The audience forgot where they were. Some held their breath. A woman in the crowd wiped her eyes. One judge placed a hand over her mouth. When Miguel hit the final note, strong and steady, the room exploded. A standing ovation. Cheers. Tears. Shock. Miguel opened his eyes, confused, almost scared. He hadn't expected this reaction. He had only sung like he always did, honestly. Simon stood up. The crowd grew silent again. "I've heard Elvis sung thousands of times," Simon said slowly. "Most people try to imitate him. You didn't. You made me feel something. And I did not expect that from you, from this song, from this moment." He paused, then smiled. "That was unforgettable." Miguel broke down. Years of doubt collapsed into tears. On that stage, he wasn't a poor fisherman's son or a laborer with a dream. He was an artist. A singer. Someone who mattered. Behind the scenes, the journey didn't suddenly become easy. Fame brought pressure. Criticism followed praise. Miguel struggled with confidence, with the fear of not being good enough again. But every time doubt returned, he remembered that night, his mother's voice, and the truth he had learned: dreams don't belong to a country, a class, or a background. They belong to those brave enough to carry them. By the end of the competition, Miguel may not have won the trophy, but he won something far greater. He won belief. In himself. In music. In the idea that sometimes, the world is wrong about who can shine. And if this story touched you, if it reminded you not to judge too quickly or give up too soon, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because the next hidden voice, the next unexpected miracle, might be just one story away, and you won't want to miss it. The night didn't end when the applause faded. For Miguel, it was only the beginning of a journey that would test him in ways he never imagined. Back in his small hotel room, long after the cameras were turned off, he sat on the edge of the bed holding his phone. Messages were pouring in from people he hadn't heard from in years: old classmates, distant relatives, even neighbors who once laughed gently at his singing. Some wrote with pride, some with surprise, and some simply said, "We're sorry we didn't believe sooner." Miguel read every message slowly, letting each word sink in. But the one message he read again and again was from his mother: "No matter what happens next, I already won. I heard my son sing." The following weeks were overwhelming. Interviews, rehearsals, vocal coaching sessions, and constant cameras followed him everywhere. For someone who had spent most of his life unnoticed, the attention felt heavy. There were moments when Miguel stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized himself. The producers encouraged him to dress sharper, to speak louder, to own the stage. But inside, he was still the same quiet boy who sang to an old radio at night. Sometimes he wondered if the world loved him, or just the surprise of him. During rehearsals, Miguel struggled. Competing singers had years of formal training, strong confidence, and powerful stage presence. He missed notes, doubted his song choices, and once even walked out of a practice room, convinced he didn't belong. That night, he almost booked a flight home. But before he could, he received a call from Simon Cowell. The conversation was short but honest. Simon told him, "Talent opens the door, but courage keeps you in the room. If you leave now, you'll never know how far you could have gone." Miguel stayed. Each performance after that carried a piece of his life. When he sang about heartbreak, he thought of his father's tired eyes. When he sang about hope, he remembered his mother's hands folded in prayer. Viewers around the world began to connect with him, not just because he sang Elvis, but because he sang truth. Social media filled with comments from people saying, "He sounds like my story, and he reminds me not to give up." Miguel read these messages late at night, the same way he once listened to the radio, quietly, gratefully. One evening, before a live show, Miguel received news that his father had fallen ill back home. The guilt nearly crushed him. He felt selfish for chasing a dream while his family struggled. In the dressing room, tears streamed down his face as he held his microphone, unsure if he could perform. A fellow contestant placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Sing for him. Let him hear you wherever he is." That night, Miguel sang one of the most emotional performances of the season. Even Simon looked visibly moved, his usual sharp expression softened by respect. As the competition progressed, Miguel didn't win every round. There were critics who said his style was old-fashioned, that Elvis songs didn't fit the modern industry. But Miguel learned something important: success wasn't about pleasing everyone. It was about staying true. When the finale arrived, and his name wasn't called as the winner, there was a brief sting of disappointment. But it faded quickly when the audience rose to their feet once more, chanting his name. In that moment, Miguel realized he had already won something permanent. After the show, opportunities came slowly but steadily. Small concerts. Invitations to sing at cultural events. A chance to record his first cover album. None of it was instant fame, but it was real. When Miguel finally returned home, the town welcomed him with banners, music, and tears. Children asked for photos. Elders shook his hand. And his mother hugged him longer than ever before. One evening, Miguel set up a small stage near the shore where he grew up. As the sun set, he sang Elvis again, his voice carried by the sea breeze. People gathered not because cameras were there, but because music was. When he finished, he looked out at the crowd and smiled, knowing that dreams don't need permission to exist. Miguel's story isn't just about singing. It's about courage rising from quiet places. It's about how the world can underestimate someone and still be proven wrong by a single honest moment. If you're watching this and doubting yourself, remember Miguel. Remember that sometimes, the most unexpected voices carry the strongest truths. If this story inspired you, moved you, or reminded you of your own hidden dream, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life, and who knows, the next unbelievable moment might begin with you.